what was going on with the chip is there, and what explanation were you given for the tech that you got?
I'll take the official questions. There wasn't an explanation for the tech that she got. I think it was pretty obvious that stuff was brewing, right? When the officials don't get control of the ball game, when they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game.
The WNBA is once again at the center of a firestorm as head coach Stephanie White delivered a scathing critique of the league's officiating. White didn't hold back, slamming refs for their failure to control a game that devolved into something far beyond physical play. According to her, the officials turned a blind eye while players pushed boundaries well past acceptable limits, allowing the match to spiral into chaos. What should have been ejections were met with silence, and White made it crystal clear. This isn't about toughness. It's about safety, consistency, and a league that's losing control of its own rulebook.
Welcome to WNBA Fight Night, or as some people are saying, WNBA Raw. What a game that was. We had it all. We had basketball, we had fighting, we had blonde on blonde crime. Oh, such an epic. Oh, goodness. But at the end of the day, it resulted in an Indiana Fever.
In an age where every moment is magnified by social media, Tuesday night's clash between the Indiana Fever and Connecticut Sun became a textbook example of officiating gone wrong. The game spiraled out of control, exposing just how quickly referees can lose their grip when tensions boil over on the court.
This is, of course, Sophie and Sheldon going down the floor. Sophie tries to wrap her up, and Sheldon gets to the floor, and all hell breaks loose. And Sophie said, "I'm not having it. I'm not having it. We'll go. We'll go." So there's
what should have been a triumphant night for the Fever as they secured a spot in the Commissioner's Cup Championship quickly turned sour, marred by incidents that highlighted the league's most pressing issue, officiating that prioritizes appearance over action. Rather than stepping in to shield players from blatant, targeted aggression, referees appeared more concerned with preserving an illusion of control than actually enforcing it.
So this kind of started it. They're going back and forth, and Caitlin like, hey, forget you. Boom, shoved her right there, right? Then Marina Mabrey already shoving Caitlin, right? She jumping into it, shoving Caitlin to the side, right? Now we get further into the game. Watch this. Watch how this happens, right? So you see Sheldon guarding up, playing pretty good defense. This is what I was going to give her credit on. She was not allowing Caitlin to penetrate, get into the paint, deny her the path to the basket, right? Boom, she bumps. Caitlin drives around. Look, good footwork. Okay, you stand in front of her. I give it to you. Boom, bumps again, spin around. Boom, she's bumping, getting bumpy. And then that happened. I'm like, what was that? What is this play right here, man?
The tension had been simmering like a powder keg ready to blow as J.C. Sheldon and Caitlin Clark reignited their fierce Big Ten rivalry with a physical showdown that pushed the boundaries of competitive play. But what unfolded in the third quarter crossed the line. This wasn't gritty basketball. It was a targeted hit job dressed up as hustle. Sheldon's actions felt intentional, not instinctual, and the lack of response from officials exposed a troubling truth. The WNBA still struggles to prioritize player safety over the illusion of toughness. What fans witnessed was not just a missed call, it was a systemic failure.
with 1 minute left, and all hell broke loose between J.C. Sheldon and Sophie Cunningham, and it is very clear the Indiana Fever, some of these girls on this team are finally fed up. Finally fed up. Once again, WNBA, we're not talking about your basketball. We're talking about the WNBA WWE Raw circus that you got going on right now. And we all know this incident with Sophie stems from the incident that was clearly not handled correctly by the WNBA and the referee.
If you are enjoying, please subscribe. With over 4 minutes left in the third quarter and the Fever leading 55-45, Clark was near the top of the key, closely guarded by Sheldon. What unfolded next is destined to be analyzed for years, not for its basketball skill, but for its shocking breach of professionalism and officiating standards. As Clark dribbled, Sheldon reached in with what officials later described as unnecessary contact, involving wind-up and impact. Essentially, she poked Clark directly in the eye. The foul was clear, but the intent was ambiguous. Clark's response was instinctive. She grabbed her face, visibly in pain. When Sheldon continued to engage physically, Clark instinctively pushed her away. The sequence highlighted a troubling lapse in officiating and sportsmanship, raising questions about player safety and the league's oversight of conduct on the court.
What is this right here, fam? No way you just reach for Caitlin's eyes like that, her face, whatever the case may be. You reach for her head and you scratch her. What are you reaching for right here? What is that? Did she think she was going to shoot? I don't know, man. That's about the best I can give her. Maybe she thought she was about to pull up and trying to put her hand where the ball might be coming. But fam, you literally slapped her in the face, man. Slapped her right in the eyes, man. Come on, fam. Then Caitlin shoves her, right? Shoves her off of her. Like, get away from me, man. Get away from me. Give me some space.
This moment marked a shift from a routine basketball altercation to an incident that should have warranted immediate ejections. Marina Mabrey, who had no legitimate reason to involve herself, approached Clark from behind and delivered what can only be described as a reckless body check. The force of the hit caused Clark's face to slam into the floor, drawing an immediate and intense crowd reaction. They recognized they had witnessed something far beyond acceptable sportsmanship. What makes this situation even more infuriating for anyone familiar with basketball, player safety, or basic human decency is the drawn-out review process. After what felt like an eternity, longer than many Supreme Court deliberations, the officials finally announced their decision, which defied logic, precedent, and common sense. The lack of appropriate action sent a disturbing message that violations of safety and sportsmanship can be overlooked, undermining the integrity of the game and risking player well-being.
Marina Mabrey body checking Caitlin Clark to the ground. J.C. Sheldon all over her. Riding her. Pokes Caitlin Clark in the eye. Oh, man. Caitlin Clark needs to start wearing goggles, folks. Caitlin Clark's going to need to start wearing goggles. Bumps up on Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark says, "Get your hands off me." And then here comes Marina Mabrey. Boom! Exploding Caitlin Clark like a safety coming downhill in the NFL. There was no flop there. Marina Mabrey did a straight beeline run to Caitlin Clark and checked her. You got Lexi Hole saying, "JC, what the hell is wrong with you?" This was all game, folks. All game. Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were getting checked. All game. The Indiana Fever were getting punked. All game. The referees let this physical style of basketball.
Sheldon was correctly assessed a flagrant foul for the eye poke, an appropriate decision considering the wind-up and impact described by crew chief Ashley Gloss. However, the subsequent rulings ignited a firestorm of controversy that resonated far beyond Gamebridge Fieldhouse. Caitlin Clark, who was subjected to both an eye poke and a vicious blindside body check in rapid succession, was penalized with a technical foul. This is difficult to comprehend. Clark was physically assaulted twice in seconds, yet she was penalized for her unsportsmanlike reaction to these aggressive acts. According to Ashley Gloss, Clark reacted in an unsportsmanlike manner towards Sheldon after being poked in the eye, which many found deeply unjust. Meanwhile, Marina Mabrey, whose actions were egregiously dangerous, delivering what could be described as a football-style body check, was only issued a technical foul. Despite the severity of her hit, officials decided her contact did not warrant ejection, stating it did not meet the criteria for a flagrant foul penalty too. These inconsistent and seemingly illogical calls raised serious concerns about the officiating standards and the league's commitment to player safety and fairness. The decisions not only undermined the integrity of the game, but also sent a troubling message about the league's priorities when it comes to protecting athletes and maintaining sportsmanship.
Sophie Cunningham is going back to the locker room, and I'm wondering, I don't know if she just got kicked out But if they kicked her out and they did not kick Marina Mabrey out, then holy shit. Because that's the next thing we got to get to. Mabrey, for that incident, that Kennedy Carter vicious slam to the ground she just had on Caitlin Clark, they did not throw her out of this game. And I called Stephanie White out on social media. I was like, this is the time where you as a coach, you've got to go, and I'm going to go old school, you've got to go full on Bobby Knight, Indiana Hoosiers, showing your ass out there for your player.
When the post-game press conference started, it was meant to celebrate the Fever's move to the Commissioner's Cup championship. Instead, it turned into one of the most powerful condemnations of WNBA officiating ever delivered by a head coach. The first question focused on Caitlin Clark's technical foul, but Stephanie White quickly cut it off, asserting, "I'll take the official questions." What followed was a masterful display of controlled anger masked as professional critique. White's words reflected the frustration of someone who had witnessed similar officiating issues repeatedly throughout the season. This wasn't an impulsive outburst driven by a single bad call. It was a deliberate, calculated response from a coach who had reached her limit with what she saw as systemic incompetence. Her tone conveyed deep disappointment and outrage, shining a spotlight on the league's ongoing struggles with inconsistent officiating and the need for reform. White's comments resonated far beyond the moment, raising important questions about fairness and integrity in the league.
This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete and they're going to have their teammates' backs. It's exactly what you expect, right? Out of fierce competition. So I started talking to the officials in the first quarter, and we knew this was going to happen. You could tell it was going to happen. So they got to get control of it. They got to be better. They got to be better.
A troubling pattern has been emerging since the season's opening games. Data showed that a disproportionate number of flagrant fouls had been called against Caitlin Clark, fueling a narrative that the league seemed intent on dismissing. As if the chaos in the third quarter wasn't enough, the final minute of the game highlighted how officials can completely lose control of a contest. With the Fever comfortably leading 87-70 and the outcome essentially decided, JC Sheldon intercepted a pass and sprinted toward what should have been a routine transition layup. Sophie Cunningham, the only defender nearby, made a decision that would result in her ejection and further reveal the officials' inconsistent approach to player safety. Instead of allowing an easy basket in a game that was already decided, Cunningham committed what officials later called a flagrant 2 foul. The contact was hard, perhaps unnecessarily so given the game's situation, but it resembled a professional foul often seen in basketball, players trying to prevent an easy score. What followed, however, was anything but professional. The officiating decision and the subsequent actions exposed the league's ongoing struggles with consistency, fairness, and player safety.
As JC Sheldon is going up for a layup, Sophie bear hugs her and takes her to the ground. What I will say is Sophie did not grab her and throw her to the ground. She didn't body slam her. She didn't do anything, in my personal opinion. Maybe I'm biased here, but I'm gonna give you guys my straight up honest opinion on this. She bear hugged her, took her to the ground. Yes, it was intentional. It was absolutely intentional. It was, to me, payback for what was happening the entire game. But she did it in a way that she wasn't gonna injure JC. She was just making it known, like, if the refs aren't gonna handle it, I will handle it. We'll take care of it, but this is not what you're going to do when you come into our house. It was an intentional foul. It was a hard foul. She brought her down. But with that, you guys, JC Sheldon got up and she was ready to go.
After the foul, Sheldon quickly got up and confronted Cunningham, leading to a tense confrontation that rapidly spiraled beyond mere words. Lindsay Allen from The Sun also got involved, turning what should have been a routine foul into a chaotic 3-player altercation. The officials responded swiftly. Cunningham was assessed a flagrant 2 foul and ejected immediately, while Sheldon and Allen were also ejected for escalating the situation and fighting. The stark contrast between these decisions and previous calls highlighted a troubling inconsistency in officiating. Earlier in the game, Marina Mabrey delivered a rough, blindside body check to an opponent and stayed in the game without penalty. Then, in the final quarter, Sophie Cunningham committed a hard but legal foul, yet when tempers flared, she was ejected. These contrasting moments underscored a frustrating pattern of inconsistent officiating that undermined the integrity of the game and left players and fans questioning the league's standards.
Like Sophie Cunningham, J.C. Sheldon going up for a layup, puts her head down like a running back, exploding through the hole. Sophie Cunningham wraps her up, tosses her little ass to the ground, says, "What's good?" And then Lindsay Allen goes after her along with J.C. Sheldon and Sophie Cunningham. Look at Sophie Cunningham taking it 2-on-1. Sophie Cunningham going 2-on-1 underneath the basket. Sophie Cunningham, salute. 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 Sophie Cunningham did her jail son. I can't let you get close, Vanderlei. I can't let you get close. Oh, I love to see it.
The message was unmistakable and troubling. Hard fouls committed within the normal flow of the game resulted in ejections, while targeted fouls on star players often only drew technicals. It was as if the officials had signaled that protecting the game's outcome was more important than safeguarding the players themselves. Stephanie White's post-game frustration was evident and palpable. When asked to clarify what getting control of the game entailed, she responded with blunt honesty. Call the fouls that are actually happening on the floor, and call them consistently. Not just if somebody swings and misses, call the fouls that actually occur. Her critique extended beyond her team's situation, addressing what she clearly saw as a systemic issue affecting the league as a whole. "I've seen quite a few dust-ups this season, so I think it's a league-wide problem," she said, speaking with the authority of someone who had observed multiple incidents across various games. "Bad officiating," she emphasized, highlighting her belief that inconsistent calls and a lack of accountability undermine the integrity of the game and threaten the league's credibility.
Can you specifically detail what you mean by get control of the game, just to be in your words?
Get control of the game is call the fouls that are actually happening on the floor. Right, and consistently call the fouls that are actually happening on the floor. Okay, not just if somebody swings and misses, right? Consistently call the fouls.
Coach, do you think it's something pertaining to your team, or do you think this is a league-wide issue?
Well, I've seen quite a few dust-ups in the league so far, so I think it's a league-wide issue. I mean, bad officiating is bad officiating.
Her words carried significant weight, especially considering her previous fine from the league for criticizing officiating after a loss to the New York Liberty. This wasn't a coach speaking impulsively or in the heat of the moment. It was someone who had already paid a price for speaking out and had made a conscious decision that the cost was worth it. Her reference to league meetings underscored the depth of the systemic issues. "Every year, during our league meetings in the fall and spring, we repeat the same concerns over and over, and yet nothing ever changes," she explained with a weary tone, a clear sign of her frustration after witnessing the same broken system persist season after season. White's most powerful critique lay in her comments about the evolution of the game and the officials' failure to keep pace. "The game has changed so much. Players are faster, stronger, bigger, and more athletic than ever before. They're as skilled as they've ever been. The pace is rapid, and things happen in the blink of an eye," she said, emphasizing the game's increased speed and physicality. Then came her bluntest observation: "Everybody's getting better, except the officials." This statement was more than just criticism. It was an indictment of a system that had failed to adapt to the modern era of women's basketball. While players had evolved into faster, more powerful athletes, the officiating had remained static, unable to manage the faster pace, increased physicality, and heightened skill level that now define the game.
I think every year when we have our league meetings in the fall and in the spring, we say the same thing over and over and over. And nothing has changed. So, I'm not sure outside of continuing to submit clips, continuing to talk about it. Look, their job is hard. Their job is hard. Their job is hard, right? Their job is hard. The game has changed so much. Players are faster, they're better, they're bigger, they're stronger. They're as good as they've ever been. They're as athletic as they've ever been. The game is fast now. Things are happening quickly. Everybody's getting better, except the officials.
What transpired in Indianapolis on Tuesday night was about more than just a poorly officiated game. It symbolized the deeper issues plaguing the WNBA's approach to player safety, competitive integrity, and professionalism. The league's failure to protect Caitlin Clark, its biggest star and key driver of fan engagement, while simultaneously penalizing her for being targeted, exposed a fundamental misunderstanding of both the sport and its business. The crowd's reactions throughout the game highlighted this disconnect. Fans instinctively recognized what the referees had overlooked, that certain actions crossed the line from fierce competition into targeted harassment. Their sustained booing of Mabrey and Sheldon after the incident wasn't merely emotional. It was a collective acknowledgement that justice had not been served. Stephanie White's outspoken criticism, risking another fine, underscored the frustration running through the coaching community. Her willingness to speak out reflected a broader sense of disillusionment with the league's handling of these issues. This was not an isolated grievance from one coach, but the culmination of systemic problems that had been festering all season. Issues regarding inconsistent officiating, player protection, and the league's commitment to maintaining a fair and safe environment for its players.
Come on, fam. What are you doing? Then you blindsiding Caitlin. That's crazy work. That's crazy. I'm surprised Marina Mabrey got away with that. I'm surprised she got away with that. I thought somebody was going to chin check her and talk to her. I'm surprised. But she ended up doing that and still got a chance to stay in the game. Still was catching crazy boos every time she touched the ball. Crazy work, man. Even Caitlin like, bro, what in the world? Like, I think she dropped a WTF right there. Like, she's like, what's up with this? What do we do this at? Like, come on.
White's press conference concluded with a pointed challenge that the league can no longer overlook. "You've heard every coach talk about it, so I don't know what the answer is," she stated, effectively calling out league leadership. Her message was clear. If coaches across the league are expressing the same concerns, the issue isn't with the coaches themselves. The solution is straightforward but requires the WNBA to admit that their current approach isn't effective. Officials need enhanced training, clearer guidelines, and consistent enforcement of player safety policies. Players who intentionally target opponents must face immediate, strict consequences, no matter their team or the game situation. This is about establishing accountability and protecting players, and the league must act decisively to implement meaningful change.
And mind you, the reporters at the time, the announcers here are saying, of course, Marina Mabrey is going to get ejected because that was unwarranted. She literally came out of nowhere and chucked Caitlin Clark. There should be a flagrant one, of course, on JC Sheldon because she swiped her and hit her in the eyeball. Whether it is intentional or not, you can still have a flagrant a flagrant foul called on you, whether you are trying to intentionally hurt somebody or not. But this is what they called, you guys. This is what they called. Caitlin Clark, Marina Mabrey, Tina Charles were assessed with technical fouls on Tuesday. Caitlin, Marina, and Tina Charles. Technical fouls. That's it. Technical fouls. That's it. And JC Sheldon was assessed with a flagrant 1 foul, and no players were ejected.
Most importantly, the league must understand that protecting stars like Caitlin Clark isn't about favoritism. It's sound business. When the league's marquee players are being targeted with flagrant fouls at record rates and receiving technical fouls just for being victimized, it's a clear sign of deeper issues. This isn't just a failure of sportsmanship, it's a failure of the league's integrity. The Indiana Fever have made it to the Commissioner's Cup Championship, competing for a $500,000 0-cents prize. But the true victory would be a league that values player safety over manufactured drama, upholds competitive integrity over social media hype, and relies on professional officiating rather than amateurish mistakes. Until the league takes meaningful action, Tuesday night's chaos in Indianapolis stands as a stark reminder that officiating problems are eroding everything the WNBA claims to stand for. Stephanie White voiced her frustration because someone had to, and her words deserve to be heard by those with the power to overhaul this broken system. If you enjoyed leaving a like and subscribing, more videos are on the screen now.